If you want to stop associating with your trauma, if you want to start rewriting your story and start living your dream life, then this video is for you. I just came home from 1 Billion Summit and something shifted in my mind, and I have made an official decision to come back to YouTube because long form content has always been where I shine. I love talking to you guys, so I am here to talk to you post traumatic event. I had this really intense gut feeling to share this video. I felt called to it, and so here I am. I just got home. My feet are killing me, but I really want to share. So here we go. I made this video for anyone who feels like they are in a tunnel with no end, with no light. And I'm here to tell you first things first that I have been there. I have been there and back, been there again, made a U-turn, ended up there again. And after years of victimizing myself, throwing what seemed to be a never-ending pity party for myself, I am finally here in what seems to be, or what I feel is, the best version of my life so far. And here are some steps you can take towards your healing that have been tried and tested by yours truly. The first step is acknowledging what happened, and the second step is immediately detaching yourself or your worth from what happened. Early in my healing journey, I always thought of what happened to me in such a self-centric manner. I always thought, why did this happen to me? How could they do this to me? The truth is, it happened, they did it, and it was not something that you could control. What happens in any traumatic experience is very similar to what happens in grief. You start off with the sense of denial, and then you end up bargaining. Maybe if I did this, then they wouldn't do that. Maybe if I was prettier, if I was skinnier, if I was thinner, and then you end up in this shame spiral of things that you could have done to avoid getting hurt. It took me literal years to realize that when people hurt you, it is not because they have some vendetta against you. We hurt people every day without us knowing it. And the way we have hurt others, it's probably still hurting them until now. It doesn't mean we were evil. It doesn't mean they were evil. It just happens. People hurt people. This happens. The moment you detach from what has happened to you, the more you identify as a conqueror instead of a victim. But I am not perfect, and neither are you. Even after this acknowledgement phase, this acceptance phase, I still had days where I was feeling really down and I felt like I was back on square one. God knows I still have these days, but they happen less and less often because I view these memories with a more gentler approach, and I am very conscious with the way that I talk to myself and the way that I frame these memories. Instead of something that happened to me, I try to frame them as things that happened for me that changed the trajectory of my life. Which is why the second step of detaching also involves a lot of reframing. Reframe what happened, retell your story. I could have easily taken this really negative experience and ruined the lives of the people that hurt me, but I didn't. I could have played victim. God knows I deserved to play victim, but I didn't. I simply didn't want that to be my story. Maybe for a while I did, like in the midst of the craziness. But after some clarity, I realized I do not want this to be my story. And I started viewing my life as a TV show. And you know how in a television show, whenever things go really bad for the main character, you know that things are about to get good for the plot and for the main character. And fortunately, it did. During and after traumatic experiences, you really view life a lot differently. It becomes so much darker and gloomier. And as I mentioned earlier, it feels like you're stuck in this tunnel with no light at the end of it. But it doesn't have to be that way. Which is why step 3 is to create a healing calendar. And before you call me out, it is not a calendar, or it is not a due date of when you should be healed. Like, okay, by January 15, I am never going to talk about this incident again. by January 20, I am going to be fully healed and it won't break me or shatter me ever again. That is not what I want you to do. When I was in the midst of a really bad breakup, after a long-term relationship, in the midst of my sobbing, with my face soaked with tears, I went on Google Sheets and I created a healing calendar. And in this calendar, I would fill it with days that I would spend with my friends, days dedicated to fitness, to my mental health. I set a date with my therapist again after not seeing her for the longest time ever because of the predicament I was in. But I sat down and took time to show myself what life would look like because this happened. And when you can attach something good to something really bad that has happened, it gives you that sense of control that was taken away from you when this thing happened to you. I literally treated getting my spark back as a full-time job. I just filled up my calendar, and a lot of people said that I wasn't coping the way that I should have, but it's different for everyone. And this is something that has helped me until now. They say you can't rush healing, which is very true. I agree with that. But you can still create a life where you look forward to tomorrow, because God knows how hard it is to picture tomorrow when you're in the midst of all that chaos and emotional trauma. No one stops you from doing that. And in a way, it's taking care of yourself, because you know how in relationships things get very shaky and you want reassurance from your partner and you want assurance that things are going to be okay, that it's going to be you guys in the end. Doing this healing calendar is actually really helpful, and it's a great way to reassure yourself that, okay, this bad thing happened, things are shaky, but there is still tomorrow to look forward to. There is still love to look forward to. There's still a bunch of these dates to look forward to. So that worked really well for me for a while, and obviously it worked too well and I got complacent and stopped doing it. And so when I stopped doing it, I would get into my down days again, and that's when I started to learn how to self-regulate my emotions. Obviously, a lot of therapy helped with that, but I also learned through my own trials and errors how to regulate my emotions, which I do want to talk about in a separate video because I feel like emotional self-regulation is a really important topic and it's so important for life, but no one really teaches you how to do it unless you go to therapy, which is not accessible to everyone. So yeah, I might do another video on that. So yeah, I got complacent, and during the seasons in my life where I would get complacent and not take care of myself and not create this healing calendar, I would really fall off the grid and stop taking care of myself. So for me, as a type A person, it needs to be written down so that I have some structure. Step 3 is really the hardest step because it is a step that you have to take every single day. You have to keep showing up for yourself. You have to find meaning out of life. You have to create something to look forward to because it's not going to be handed over to you. And if it is handed over to you, there is that tendency to become dependent on what or who hands it over to you. So it's really important that you give these things to yourself. Trauma is so powerful in the sense that one small trigger can really put you off track and put you in this spiral of feeling like you're not good enough. And it can make you feel like you're back in square one. Even if planners, calendars, and organization isn't your coping mechanism, it can't hurt to try. In your healing calendar, set days where you literally do things that will make your inner child happy. Do something that you haven't done in a long time. Do something for the first time. Just do something that you know you wouldn't have done if this traumatic experience hadn't happened to you. That way you can say that this trauma actually came with a good thing. It came with the courage to do something that you've been wanting to do for the longest time ever, but just needed a push to do. So yeah, that's it for me. I hope this wasn't too generic. This is literally what I went through It's a pretty unique experience. I don't know anyone else who has created a healing calendar. If you do know anyone else, then please let me know in the comments so that I can be friends with them. Please let me know if this is content that you would like to see. I'm trying to take a whole new approach to YouTube. I used to post vlogs and hauls and Instagram tips, but I think I've outgrown all that, and I really want to use this platform as a safe space where I can overshare about my testimony in the hopes that it helps someone else going through theirs. So, yes, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.